The Wendigo is a demonic spirit rooted in Algonquin-based Native American folklore. In some scary stories, this supernatural creature can curse and possess humans, causing them to suffer from cannibalistic urges and psychosis that can never be sated. It is believed many different individuals can be affected by the single ancient evil, serving as multiple extensions of it. These tales are believed to be the world's first zombie stories. The myth originated as a way to prevent those facing starvation in times of famine from resorting to cannibalism for survival. The Wendigo mythology later morphed into a way to encourage moderation and cooperation within the tribes. Anyone guilty of greed or jealousy, or anyone who had ever tasted human flesh, was considered tainted and prey for the beast. Tribes began to appoint Wendigo slayers for hire, and those who were believed to be transforming into a Wendigo would be put to death. The Wendigo originated as an evil spirit able to possess humans. The earliest versions of the Wendigo legend come from Algonquin-based Native American tribes, and describes it as an evil spirit or demonic entity that was able to possess humans, and in some cases, even transform into human beings themselves. Those who had previously been driven to commit cannibalism as a desperate act of self-preservation during harsh winter could be affected by the evil entity, as could anyone with harboring feelings of greed. This malevolent spirit is driven by its insatiable hunger for human flesh, so any human possessed by it would slip into savage state like some mindless, flesh-craving zombie. The beast took on a putrid physical form. While earlier Native American cultures spoke of the Wendigo as a spirit, eventually took on the shape of a physical beast. This beast could also infect a person if that person was tainted by greed or had committed the sin of consuming human flesh. Like the spirit, the creature was able to poison the minds of humans, turning them into Wendigo and forcing them to consistently crave the meat of other humans. The emaciated creature, topped with a stag's skull head, sunken eyes, and skin stretched and possibly tied over its bones, is known to give off the stench of death and corruption. This shambling skeleton beast is similar to a zombie, not just in its seemingly mindless hunger, but also in its form. It's strikingly tall, yet seems fragile and haggard, falling apart from decomposition as it moves. The Wendigo has supernatural hunting abilities. Whether in the form of a beast or a spiritual entity, the Wendigo possesses supernatural abilities that make it impossible to escape. Despite its gaunt figure, it is unnaturally large, fast, and strong, with heightened senses and endurance. The Wendigo is a hunter, immune to even the harshest climates. It stalks its prey and can mimic human voices, so its favorite pastime is luring people away from safety and driving them mad deep in the wilderness in order to consume or possess them. Wendigo fever drives victims mad before fully possessing them. Some say the Wendigo infects its host slowly, tormenting them as it takes over the mind and body. It begins with the strange odors that only the victim can smell. Then they are plagued with nightmares, their sanity melting away from their sleep-deprived minds. They'll experience an unbearable, burning sensation throughout their legs and feet, and usually end up stripping down, running naked through the forest like a madman. This is usually the last anyone sees of those cursed by the Wendigo. The few who have returned from the woods after suffering Wendigo fever have been said to come back utterly insane. No matter how much a Wendigo consumes, its hunger is never sated. According to Algonquin myth, once a Wendigo eats another person, it grows directly in proportion to the person it just consumed, making it impossible for it ever to be full. It is the embodiment of gluttony, constantly consuming yet never satisfied, always on the brink of starvation. The Wendigo only gets more deadly with age. According to lore, the longer a Wendigo walks the earth, the stronger its powers become. This savage creature can eventually gain the ability to control the weather and to call upon darkness before sunset. The Wendigo also gains the ability to manipulate other creatures of the forest. It can summon predators and force them to attack on command. Its speed and strength also grow with age, as does ability to heal. Wendigo psychosis is a real psychological disorder. While the name stems directly from the lore, Wendigo psychosis is a very real disorder where people develop an appetite for human flesh. This form of cannibalism is not considered the same as those who consume human meat in survival scenarios, as the lore originally describes. Wendigo psychosis describes an individual who has access to normal food sources, yet feels overwhelmed by the need for human flesh. A Cree man claimed to have been temporarily possessed by a Wendigo. Back in 1878, a Cree man named Swift Runner was only 25 miles away from the Hudson Bay Company's supply post when he was overcome with a need to butcher and eat his entire family. The winter of 1878 was brutal, and Swift Runner's son allegedly died due to the harsh conditions. Whether Runner and his entire family consumed the boy after his death is unclear. What was found were the mutilated remains of Runner's wife and his 5 remaining children. Runner confessed to killing and eating his family, but he blamed his actions on a Wendigo. He was put to death by the authorities. Fort Saskatchewan. A medicine man and Wendigo slayer murdered 14 people. In 1907, Jack Fiddler, an Ogee Creek chief, and his brother Joseph was arrested by Canadian authorities for slaughtering 14 people. According to Fiddler, the victims had all either transformed into a Wendigo or were on the verge of doing so. Fiddler was a medicine man considered to have great powers, capable of stopping the ancient evil, which is how he got away with executing so many people. After their arrest, Jack committed suicide before he could stand trial, but his brother, Joseph, was given a life sentence as his accomplice. This sentence only lasted about 3 days. However, because he died in prison right before he was given a pardon. Tribes were so terrified of Wendigos, they held ceremonies to ward the evil off. The people of the Assiniboine, Ojibwe, and the Cree tribes took the Wendigo taboo so seriously that during times of famine, a ceremonial dance would be performed. The purpose was to reinforce the threat of the evil creature in the minds of the people during harsh winters. It also encouraged cooperation and moderation during trying times. These ceremonies were performed in northern Minnesota at Lake Wendigo. Stephen King's Wendigo hung out in the woods surrounding a pet cemetery. Master of the macabre, Stephen King, had his own take on the old Wendigo lore. In his book, Pet Sematary, the Wendigo was responsible for reanimating whatever animal, or human, was buried in an old Micmac burial ground, which the Micmacs stopped using because they believed the land was sour. The Wendigo manipulated events throughout the story, infecting the characters' minds as they become more stone-hearted and susceptible to the ancient evil. Whether human or pet, the resurrected corpses came back horribly altered. They were strange and violent and smelled horrible. They were nothing more than hosts for the Wendigo lurking in the woods. On the TV show Supernatural, the Wendigo was portrayed as a hibernating monster who eats live humans little by little. Although the Wendigo is the embodiment of excess, the TV show Supernatural took a different approach. The Wendigo, hunted by the show's paranormal investigators, Sam and Dean Winchester, was once human, but has since become pure monster. It stops its feeding frenzy to hibernate instead of infecting as many people as it can. It hunts humans and stores them as live food, so it can snack whenever it wants. As Dean Winchester put it, more than anything, a Wendigo knows how to last long winters without food. It hibernates for years at a time. When it's awake, it keeps its victims alive. It stores them so it can feed whenever it wants. So, what do you believe about the Wendigo? Fact, fiction, lore? Which version of the Wendigo have you seen in TV that intrigued you the most? Leave me a comment below and let me know. Alright, my lovely lilies, thank you so much for watching the new video. If you can, hit that subscribe and like button, comment below and tell me your thoughts. Also, don't forget to tap the little notification bell so you're always in the know on this channel. As well, guys, you can always find me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and always you can hit me up in my emails. Feel free to send me your stories, whether they're fiction or totally true. I'm always up for some great stories. And oh, by the way, until next time, sweet dreams.